y'all, it's Laura and welcome back to another process video. This time I'm scrap lifting the absolutely wonderful Gwen rock. This is my challenge for the Cocoa Vanilla design team for this month, and I absolutely adore Gwen's layout. So when I was scrolling through her Instagram, which is created by Gwen, she had this fantastic layout filled with frames, and I absolutely love frames, so this was perfect using the new These Days collection because there's a whole page of frames in both the 12 by 12 paper pack and the A5 paper pack. So in this case I'm using frames that I cut out from the A5 paper pack, which is the smaller one, and then I'm creating my own frames for my photos. So I have this beautiful black and white floral, and I used one A5 piece of paper to create 4 frames. I have a 4x4 photo, 2 3x3 photos, and 1 2x2 photo. And as you're going to see, I just very simply cut out 4x4, well, 4x4.5 for the big photo because I wanted to create a kind of Polaroid style one. So one end of the frame is a bit larger, a lot like a Polaroid photo, and then about 1/4 of an inch frame all the way around the rest of the way. And then I'm going to use this inside piece to create a 3x3 inch frame. Well, it's slightly larger than 3x3 inch, but for my 3x3 photo, it can sit right inside of this frame. Look at that, perfectly. Didn't even have to cut it out. It was perfect, ready to go. Love when that works out. So then all I have to do is create a 3x3 frame and a 2x2 frame with the paper that is left, which is super easy to do. Using the insides of the larger frames to create the smaller frames is a sneaky way to get the most out of your paper. And I really love how this black and white graphic floral mimics the black and white frames that were in the A5 paper pack as well. So it's the same color tones, whereas I noticed in Gwen's creation that she used a multitude of very soft colored pastel papers, and I really wanted my frames to stand out a little bit on my busier painty background. So the paper that I am using is a beautiful painty stripe background that's a little bit bolder than the one that Gwen used, but it's a similar idea. And so I really think these black and white frames in a big way stand out against this background and help the photos stand on their own. So now that I've got my frames almost all cut out, I think I used this one, yep, I was just checking the size, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim out the center of this one so we have one more frame. And then once I get all of the frames ready and attached to my photos, then I'm going to go ahead and spread them out on the layout and try to recreate the general shape that Gwen used in her frames layout. Now, one of the things I thought was really interesting about Gwen's layout is that the frames that she did not have photos in were actually left empty. Normally I would fill those with patterned paper and then embellish them, but she had actually left them empty, and then she did add some embellishment on top, but it was very minor and it kind of connected the frames to each other, which I thought was kind of a cool idea. But I love the idea that she let those stripes of the background paper seep through some of the frames. And I thought that was such a cool idea, and it's not something I probably would have done. So it was neat to try that out. And in this case especially, it worked beautifully. And I was still able to decorate those frames and give them a little bit of character with my embellishing. Now, I am making sure that my photos are positioned in such a way that the subject of the photos is framed the way I want them to be. And so that's going to take a little bit of trimming to make sure that I can get them in just the right spot on the frames. And probably could have been avoided with a little better photo editing, but we live and we learn, and I love to do things the hard way. So once I get all my frames attached, I am going to try to recreate her general shape, and the center photo was the largest. And then it had the smaller photos just arranged neatly, kind of puzzled in around it. And I thought that was really fun. This layout actually came together very quickly. I do find that scrap lifts generally do. So if you're feeling like you're in a rut, checking out the Cocoa Vanilla Instagram page for inspiration is brilliant. There are so many beautiful layouts and photo positions and backgrounds that you can scrap lift and try for your own photos. It's fantastic. It's so much fun to just peruse through it and see what inspiration you can find. So be sure to check that one out as well. Now, this will be up on the blog with some detailed photos and a little bit more explanation. And the blog is cocovanilla.com.au. So be sure to check that out as well. We post all of our inspiration as a design team on the blog, which is very helpful, I think. So I'm trying to puzzle my photos and frames the same way that Gwen did hers. I think I ended up a slightly different puzzling than she did because I was using frames and photos that were slightly different sizes than she had to use. I think I used some larger photos is what I'm saying than she used in hers. And that's okay because I'm scrapping photos of my girls out playing on the swing set. And I purposely made them a little bit bigger because I love larger sized photos and really like to include as many as I can on a page. So getting 4 photos on here, I did have to make one pretty small, but the other ones are very clearly open and easy to see what's going on, and you don't have to squint when you look at them. So here are the foam titles. I decided to go with Always Together as my title because they always are. Oh, I realized I'd missed a frame. When I went to put the title in place, I realized that Gwen had a small frame on the right side that kind of was an ending point for her title and decided I need one too. So I added one more tiny frame from the A5 paper pack there, and I will tape that down again in just a minute. Now, in trying to position my title, I wanted to mimic the way that Gwen did hers and have it going across the bottom of the larger photo and sort of overlapping onto the empty frame on the left. And so in order to get my title on here, I knew I wanted to have a larger piece as well as a smaller piece of the 2-part title that had smaller letters and larger letters mixed together. I just really liked that combination. So I put together with the larger word here, and then I'm going to use that always and just kind of tuck it in between the T and the H at the end there. And so it says always together. My twins really are always together because they seem to come in a pair. That's just the way it is. And being the same age, they tend to do a lot of the same things. And it's just kind of funny that when one goes outside, the other one goes outside. When one goes to sit on their bed and look at the tablet, the other one does that. When one's watching TV, typically the other one's trying to watch TV. So they really are just always together. So once I get all of that put away, I'm going to go ahead and fix this bottom title here so it sits just below that always, so it reads as one nice, clean, clear title. And then we get to the fun part. So I had a lot of fun embellishing this layout. I kept it fairly simple because we've already got a lot going on with these frames in the background and 4 photos on the page. And normally, if I have this many photos on a page, I'm going to keep my embellishing super simple. I started with these little puffy hearts and tucked 2 of them into the tiny frames just to be the little fill-in of those gaps and kind of add a little bit of sparkle to the page because they're really nice glittery gold. I'm going to bring in a word phrase here that not only tucks in under one of the photos but connects it to the larger photo. And I thought it was a nice way that Gwen did this, that she kind of connected some of the photos together. And I've done this with frames in the past. I think it's a really fun technique, and it helps to make the whole thing feel more cohesive as a finished layout instead of a bunch of puzzle pieces that sit next to each other. By overlapping the different elements, it helps them to feel connected and one piece. Now, I did consider popping this little cardstock sticker in here for my journaling, but then I decided that the background behind that frame was pretty light and I could get away with drawing my own lines and adding journaling in that frame without the extra label. Added a little flag up here at the top, and then I'm going to bring in some absolutely lovely puffy stickers. I wanted to get some of these houses on the page. Now, houses are not something that I generally reach for often, but I did think these were really cute because they're in such a small size and they add a different texture to the page. So at this point I have paper with my frames, I have the puffy hearts, I have the foam title. I love bringing in a variety of different textures onto my layout, and I really think it's fun when some of them have a bit of dimension. So these puffy stickers are very puffy and they're very satisfying to push against, just so you know. I also got this little bike on here, and no, that has nothing to do with the photos, but I find a lot of collections have these little bikes, and it's just easier to go ahead and pop them on the layout and not overanalyze their placement too much. Just so they get used. They are quite cute. It just don't ever have photos with bikes in them because my kids don't ride bikes much. So added a couple of wood buttons here in 2 places on the layout, mimicking the gold hearts in 2 places on the layout. And again, just having that similar embellishing style makes it feel all more coordinated together. So I'm going to use my T-square ruler to go ahead and draw those journaling lines inside of this frame. And so you see each of my frames has something embellished or photo filled inside of it, and I really enjoy that process. Adding those little bits and pieces and creating clusters is one of my favorite parts of scrapbooking, and I had a blast with this one. I will add the journaling off camera, but I do want to make sure that I left the lines in there so you could see where the journaling is going to go. Finishing up with some scattering and splattering, using my Nuvo drops for some controlled splatter before I come in with the Heidi Swap Color Shine, which is a gold ink spray, to splatter very lightly around the outside of the frames. The reason I do this is it adds a polished and finished touch to the layout and makes me feel more complete, as though it is done. It's just my little signal to myself, this one's done. That's it for me, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and until next time, bye!